Today I wanted to cover a typical breakfast, what I do for my dogs. So some of my dogs do enrichment, some of my dogs will run on the treadmill, and then we'll do a slower enrichment activity. We do food puzzles, I do trick training, obedience work, a bit of different things. But essentially for me, every breakfast starts out with my dogs in place. Roxy's on a lower place right now because she's recovering from surgery. And then I can individually call my dogs off to give them their enrichment activities. So I pre-filled a couple of them. So I'll call my first two over. Sweet Pea, Maya. So those two start off with their breakfast. I try and give all of my dogs a bit of space on their own. I know which dogs would have issues if they did enrichment near each other. Generally, most of my dogs don't. But I like to give them their own space because I don't allow stealing or anything like that between my crew. I don't want one dog to start getting a little big for their britches and trying to steal food from the others. So I just don't want that to even be a concept for them. Roxy already has a snuffle mat that I prepared in the other room. So, Rox, and she can go in there. I have trained my place command so I can individually call my dogs off and put them back on. So Lucy has this puzzle ball, which I really like. You can choose different levels for it. Lucy. Generally, about half of my dogs will do enrichment activities, and the other half I will do training with, be it trick training, obedience, kind of whatever we're working on for the day. It might even be engagement. For today, Taz, we're going to start off with some dig. So this is kind of his nail care routine. Yes. So this is one of Taz's tricks. He knows how to dig. I taught it so that he can help dig. He can help demonstrate for people a different type of nail care. Yes. I like having the board angled like this. It's a little bit less on his paws, but I could also put it on the ground. Dig. Yes. Generally, I don't require too many of off. Thank you. I don't require too many of any one type of trick. So we'll go to heel, orbit, orbit. Yes. And I try and switch it up. I try and make it more like a game than anything else. This is my dogs just working for their kibble. Spin, spin, and twist, twist. Good boy. Down, front. Yes. So I just go through some of his different tricks. It just depends on what we're working for that day. Some days I will focus more on one individual trick. Let's say I'm working on his heel a little bit more that day. He's still at the luring stage for his heel, so you can see I have treats in my hand, and I'm just kind of showing him what to do. Yes. And he'll get rewarded at different stages for that. Yes, get it. Sometimes I'll just toss food on the ground, do scatter feeding for him. I'll also do scatter feeding outside for my dogs on some nice days. I really like scatter feeding. Yes. Especially in the grass, they have to use their brains a lot to try and find that food place. Pass. Place. Thank you. And I'll just refill my treats and get the next dog out. Louise. Yes. So Louise, primarily I just work with engagement. Sit. Good. Stay. Yes. If I'm working with stay, I make sure that I alternate. Sometimes I have her stay and then come to me. Sit. Stay. Sometimes I go away and then I go back to her. Yes. I don't want to always go away and then call her to me. Yes. Because then she just knows that she has to leave, so dogs are more likely to leave their stage than stay. So we can create more stability in the stay if we also alternate, yes, and go back to them sometimes. We've been working a little bit on spin. Yes. She has a hard time because she is very visual, so I'm having a hard time fading off the hand signal. Spin. Yes. But generally I don't mind having a hand signal in with my tricks. So long as you know that you have a hand signal, it's not a big deal. Spin. The issue comes in, a lot of people unconsciously have a hand or body signal for their dog and they don't realize it. When they get frustrated, they unintentionally eliminate that signal, so it would be like me going, spin, and she doesn't know what she's supposed to do. Yes. Down. Yes. So you can see I just switch it up. Touch, touch, touch. Yes. I try and make it fun and engaging for my dogs. I try not to bore them. Touch, touch, touch. Yes. I'll also do these activities outside sometimes. I want to have my dogs practice listening in different environments. Down. I try and keep these sessions relatively short, anything from 2 to 5 minutes, sometimes up to 10 depending on the dog and what we're working on. Yes. With all of my dogs, if I'm doing a lot of training like this, breakfast generally takes 30 minutes to an hour and a half depending on what we're doing. Place. Louie. Place. Thank you. If we are just doing regular bowl-fed breakfast, which we do sometimes if we're in a rush, or if we're trying to do a bit of raw foods mixed in with their kibble, then we can feed them all in about 5-10 minutes. Bear. Bear. Thank you. Go get it. Hey, go get it. Good boy. Give. Up. Give. Nope. Up. Yes. So if my dogs mess up, depending on where they are in that sequence, I'll ask them to redo it. Go get it. If they're at the beginning and they made an effort, I will reward that effort. If they kind of know better, yes. Or they're experimenting to see if they really need to do the full behavior, I'll ask them to redo the full behavior. Bear, take. Give it to Dad. Bear. Give it to Dad. This is a new part of give that we're working on. Bear. Can you call him, hon?
Bear.
Up. Take. Give it to Dad.
Bear.
Good boy. Yes. So I switch up his training. Generally, I start off with a fairly simple trick, and then I work on building up the complexity. So now with take or give, he can go and get individual things for me. I'm working on having him bring it to my husband, just holding things. I'm also trying to work on a tug with him. For Bear, retrieve is particularly hard. He actually hates having things in his mouth. Which is fairly unusual for dogs, so I really had to be careful and really consistent with how I shaped his retrieve. For most people, if your dog likes tug or if your dog likes fetch, you can shape it pretty easily. Bear, get it? Give. Yes. Other tricks that we're working on with Bear is getting him to agree with me. Don't you agree? Yes. So that's a fun one. Really good for winning arguments. Bear, don't you agree? Yes. And I actually got don't you agree because he's working on say bye-bye. Yes. And when he started doing that, he would shake his head. He would nod his head up and down. So I kind of am working on separating out those two right now, but sometimes they cross paths. Say bye-bye. Yes. So you can do all types of fun stuff with your dog for breakfast. It's just about working on having your dog listen to you and engage with you, and both of you two having fun together and working on your training skills, working on your mechanics. It's not a bad idea to practice to video your training also, so that way you can kind of see, oh, my timing was off there, I should have rewarded here. my dog tried to do something else and I actually like that. Maybe I want to try and make that into a trick. There, down. No. There, middle. So another thing to note is that if you're starting to work on this, a lot of dogs will experiment with different behaviors. Out. Yes, if you're not telling them what to do. You can allow that. I don't always reward it because I want my dog to be listening to me. But experimental behaviors aren't bad. It's just something that you will likely notice. You can allow the experimental behaviors if you kind of want that pushiness and that, like, I want to try something. If you want your dog to be a little bit less experimental with their behaviors and less kind of pushing their boundaries, I generally just ignore it. But for my dogs, I like that little bit of pushiness because I like doing tricks with them, so I'm okay with it. Don't you agree? Don't you agree? Yes. Good boy. This does get your hands nice and slimy, so just a heads up, but I like rewarding them from me. Some people drop it on the ground, but when I'm working with stuff where I want them to actively engage with me, I reward them from my hands. Place. And last but not least, Miss Mally. Mally! There's my girl. So Mally has particularly long nails. So most days I do a little bit of the scratch board with her. Dig. Yes. As she gets better at it, I draw out a little bit longer before I reward her. I don't want her to have given up by the time I reward her. That's teaching her the wrong thing. But if I feel like she's going to keep going, I'll wait. And I want to make sure that I mark and reward while she is in the behavior, not when she stopped. Mally, dig. Yes. Good girl. So that was bad timing on my part. I marked when her foot touched the ground. So I want to ask her to do it one more time. Mally, dig. Yes. Good girl. So that was better timing on my part. I marked while she was in the middle of the behavior. Gonna give her a second to pick up the treat that she dropped. Another one we've been working on is the bell. Mally has a little bit too much enthusiasm for the bell, so she tries to kick it around. Hit it. Yes, good girl. Something that we've been working on. Hit it. Yes, good girl. Very nice, Mally. Hit it. Hit it. What? Yes. So I'm waiting until she kind of tries again. I'm giving her that opportunity to try again until I get the behavior that I'm looking for. When she got a little bit frustrated, she hovered over it, and with her it's kind of 50-50. Whether she'll try too hard or whether she'll try and do it the right way. So I'm going to give her that opportunity again. Hit it. So she didn't make contact, no reward. Yes. Good girl. So you can get some nice finesse with your behaviors, but you have to look out for what your dog is doing and kind of be prepared to roll with the punches and what they give you. Mally, heel. Good girl. Just a little bit of heel work. This is definitely not something I accelerate with, I excel at. I am not a professional heel work trainer by any means, but I do like to do it for fun. So just works on that engagement. Break. Mally, middle. Good girl. I really like middle, especially for dogs who you like to bring out in public. This is a great place to set them if you're in the checkout line. Especially if you have dogs who don't like to be touched or you don't like other people touching your dogs. People are not nearly as likely to try and pet your dogs if they're standing in between your legs. Out. No. Yes. Mally, middle. Good girl. Circle. So you can do, yes, kind of whatever you want during your breakfast. You don't have to train them for every breakfast. But I like to work on training my dogs during their breakfast, because then in their dinner, because it builds it in a couple times a day, especially for those dogs who really need it out. Doesn't need to be anything intensive. It doesn't need to be anything that's very long, but just keeping it fun, working on your mechanics, working on your connection with your dog and their ability to listen to you. Spin, spin, spin. Yes. You can see how this would be a lot more productive for them than just eating out of a bowl. Sometimes my dogs eat out of a bowl too, but the majority of the time they either do enrichment or training, and I think that that's much more fun for all of us. So I hope that that helps. Yes. And have a great day.